Hello everyone and welcome to my reflective video on the moving water experience in Dwelling Up. Alright, so for part number one, I'm going to be setting the scene. I'm going to take a look at the experiential learning that we did during our canoeing and our river rescues. Then I'm going to look at the outdoor educators and the pedagogy that they used. And then lastly, I'm going to talk about the social and environmental justice. Alrighty, for the first part of this video, I want to talk about experiential learning and how that connects to the canoeing and the kayaking and the river rescues that we did at Dwelling Up. So experiential learning is Kolb's cycle, and his cycle focuses on how you have to experience something and then you reflect on it and then you figure out what worked, what didn't work, and then you have another go and you can change things up and do some different things. Clear example of this was our going down on our backs down the rapids. This is something that I hadn't done before. We were explained what to do, and basically we had to have a go at it, and then we had a second go at it. So we had time to reflect, and my biggest thing was making sure my hips were up and my feet were out of the water. So just being able to work out what works, what doesn't work through doing. And it's important to make mistakes, and you can sort of change those during that reflection process. So now I'm going to focus on the pedagogies that the outdoor educators used, which aligned with their program's purpose. So they used a lot of direct instruction, and normally this is when safety is involved, especially when we're on moving water. Safety is a very big part of it. So the instructors used a lot of direct instructions. So talking about the safety procedures, what students need to do, and they usually demonstrated what should be done as well. So this is important because when there's rapids involved, there's water involved, there's weather involved, and you have students, it's very important to directly instruct those students how to be safe so everyone is safe at all times. This includes the environment, so always being aware, being adaptable as a teacher as well, and keeping an eye on your surroundings. Now, lastly, I want to touch on the social and environmental justice side of things. So Dwelling Up's a really good area to teach this. So the Murray River and everything around it is within the Binjara Noongar country. So it's very important for you to teach your students about this and give them understanding that these waters have been important to people for thousands of years. And you can also look at the environmental side of things. So the trees, the climate change and the rain. So rain has reduced in the area, so that's a good teaching point. And just using the nature that you're in to teach your students about that side of it. So part two is going to be looking at field trip planning, and in particular looking at a float plan and then a few different Department of Education excursion guidelines. All right, so the canoeing float plan is really important for you to run any field trips. So first of all, making sure you have your group agent and your group instructors, and then also your group members, and information like their phone numbers, their skill levels, and medical info. Medical info is really important to make sure everyone is safe and healthy. And then having a departure point and destination is also important. So the scheduling side of things, so your dates, your times, making sure they're all correct. Lastly, making sure that you have your planned route set out. So having the destinations and the location, which is the grid reference. And then looking at your equipment, your food and water, communications, signaling devices. This is the equipment that's going to get you through this field trip safely and make sure that it runs smoothly. In terms of the excursion guidelines within WA, it's important that all paddling activities are approved by the excursion proposal, and then also nominating a department teacher that's in charge, that has the duty of care and the supervision of all students. Alongside that, making sure that you have a RAMS and an emergency response plan. Now for part three, we are going to look at some of the technical skills that were developed in this course. So I'm going to be looking at the paddling skills in particular, the forward or directional paddle strokes. So some of the technical skills that we developed during this course was our forward paddling skills and just our general paddling skills. So the way that our outdoor ed instructors taught us this was through pictures and words, or instruction and demonstration. So for example, the forward stroke, we were taught that the blade enters ahead of you near the boat, and you rotate your torso, not your arms, so your power comes from your core and your shoulders. The stroke has to stay close to the hull or the canoe, and then exit as it passes your hip. Anything further than that is wasted energy. So how they would teach this was using words, so instructing us about where the blade enters, how our hip rotates, how we use our foot pedal to engage our legs, and then giving us as physical demonstration, so letting us see how to do it, and then pairing that together with then us having a go was a really good way for us to learn these new skills. And for some of us, that was skills that we'd already learned, and it was very important for us to understand that some of the students we'll be teaching have never done this before. So being patient with them and understanding that this might be the first time that they've done paddling was a very big thing I took away from some of the instructors, and just overall using those pictures and those words. Now for part 4 and the final part of this video, I just want to reflect on the growth and the learning through this course. So for my personal reflection for the growth and the learning aspect, I want to touch on a few sort of key areas that stuck out to me. So the first was experiential learning. So being able to actually do some experiential learning made me realize that I need to start looking at incorporating into my own teaching. So just using that cycle, so students doing, reflecting, and then doing it again to see some mistakes and learn from their mistakes, I found that stuck with me. Learning some new concepts through that way, I can sort of give students a really good way of learning. And then also the social and environmental justice side of things, I must admit I haven't really thought about it too much, but being out in the nature and learning about it through the outdoor instructors there, it shows how much you can teach about Aboriginals and the country that we are on and the nature around it, and just understanding that the environment's really important. And then lastly, looking at the comfort zone. So I found with the capsizing and also the rapid going down the rapids, you're going out of your comfort zone. And I found that I learned a lot from going out of those comfort zones and challenging yourself and trying to find ways that students can challenge themselves and go out of their comfort zone without going too far where they give up. And just overall understanding how the outdoors can really shape a student's learning.